This 600-ton aircraft can carry more than 800 people, takes off like a flying building, bends its wings several meters in the air, and somehow still feels quieter than planes half its size. So how did Airbus actually build something this massive? And why did the world eventually walk away from it? Because here's the strange part. This engineering masterpiece was so advanced, so comfortable, and so loved by passengers that airlines still slowly turn their backs on it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Airbus A380 and revealing why this aircraft is one of the most extraordinary and most tragic machines ever to lift off a runway. Let's start with the wings, because this is where the engineering gets unbelievable. The A380's wingspan stretches nearly 80 meters from tip to tip. That's longer than 8 London double-decker buses, parked end to end. But here's the part that sounds wrong, even when you know it's true. Those wings are deliberately designed to bend a lot during flight. During a normal cruise, the wingtips flex upward by several meters. And this isn't a flaw, it's the entire point. If the wings didn't flex, they would actually be more likely to crack over time. That flex absorbs turbulence and stress instead of transferring it into the fuselage where passengers are sitting. That flex is not weakness. It is what keeps the aircraft alive. The very thing that looks scary if you stare out the window during a flight, wings visibly moving, is what's keeping the entire aircraft from breaking apart. During structural testing, engineers bent the A380's wings far beyond anything they would ever experience in real flight, pushing them upward until they were almost unrecognizable before they finally failed. But the wings are only the beginning, because once you step inside the A380, you realize Airbus wasn't just building a plane, it was building a flying airport terminal. The A380 is a full double-deck aircraft running from nose to tail, not just a small upper hump like the Boeing 747. Imagine taking that hump and stretching it across the entire length of the aircraft. 2 complete passenger decks. Depending on the layout, the A380 can carry between 500 and over 800 passengers. That's basically a small village flying at 35,000 feet. And some airlines took spectacular advantage. Emirates installed onboard shower spas for first-class passengers, actual functioning showers in the sky, complete with luxurious bathrooms and fresh towels, working plumbing at the edge of the stratosphere. Other airlines added full lounges and bars where passengers could stand, socialize, and have a drink mid-flight. These weren't gimmicks. These were real working spaces inside an aircraft cruising at nearly the speed of sound. But here's something even more impressive. Aviation regulations require every passenger aircraft to be capable of complete emergency evacuation in under 90 seconds, using only half its available exits. Now think about that. In the context of the A380, over 800 people, in darkness, in a real emergency, out of the aircraft, in under a minute and a half. It sounds impossible, but Airbus tested it with real volunteers inside a darkened hangar built specifically for the trial. People who didn't know what to expect. They opened the doors and turned out the lights, and they succeeded. More than 800 people evacuated in under 90 seconds. Now here's something counterintuitive. You'd expect a plane this enormous to feel loud and heavy. Passengers report the exact opposite. Many say the A380 actually feels quieter and smoother than aircraft, far smaller than it. The sheer size absorbs vibration better than lighter planes. There's just more mass to dampen movement before it reaches the cabin. The engines are mounted far apart across those massive wings, pushing noise away from passengers. The result is something almost unnatural for an aircraft this size, a near-silent cabin while flying at nearly the speed of sound. Speaking of the engines, the A380 uses 4 of them, while most modern long-haul aircraft only use 2. When the A380 was designed in the 1990s, long-distance twin-engine flights over oceans were still far more restricted. 4 engines gave airlines critical flexibility on ultra-long-haul routes. But here's something most passengers never realize is happening underneath them. The aircraft is constantly moving fuel around inside itself. The A380 can carry up to 320,000 liters of fuel, but that fuel doesn't just sit in one tank. In simple terms, the A380 isn't just burning fuel, It's constantly shifting its own weight to stay balanced, reduce drag, and fly more efficiently. So while you're watching a movie, the aircraft beneath you is quietly redistributing its own mass in real time. But building a plane this big created a problem aviation had never really faced at this scale. The A380 was so large that airports had to physically reshape themselves around it. Gates were rebuilt, taxiways widened, runways strengthened. In some places, the airport had to adapt to the airplane, not the other way around. Airports like Heathrow, Dubai, and Singapore spent enormous amounts upgrading infrastructure for this single aircraft. Even constructing it was a logistical challenge unlike anything in aviation history. The wings came from the United Kingdom. Other sections came from Germany, Spain, and France. And here's a detail almost no one knows. Some roads through small French villages were physically widened, actual streets rebuilt in real towns, just so enormous aircraft components could pass through during transport. The A380 was built by an entire continent, rearranging itself to make one airplane possible. And this is where the A380 story becomes less about engineering and more about business. With all of this incredible engineering, why are there so few A380s flying today? This is where the story takes a genuinely surprising turn. The aircraft itself was never a failure. Passengers loved it. Pilots respected it. It met every safety standard required of it. The real problem was economics. Airbus designed the A380 for a future where global air travel would revolve around giant hub airports packed with passengers connecting between flights. That seemed obvious in the 1990s, but airlines and passengers chose something completely different. People preferred direct flights between smaller cities instead of huge multi-stop connections. Smaller aircraft like the Boeing 787 and Airbus A350 could fly those direct routes economically. They used less fuel per flight. They required fewer seats to be filled to be profitable. The A380 was almost too ambitious for the direction aviation actually went. There are only so many routes in the world that can consistently fill 500 to 800 seats day after day. Airbus eventually ended A380 production in 2021 after delivering just over 250 aircraft total. The problem was never the aircraft. The problem was the world around it. The A380 didn't fail because Airbus built a bad plane. It failed because Airbus built the perfect aircraft for a future that never fully arrived.